Okay. Cat. And cat. Cats everywhere. We'll see if how well they... The last few videos I've done, I have kept the cats in the bedroom. And while I've been doing that, this cat right here, right there, the troublemaker, has been very annoying. She has been sitting at the door, the bedroom door, and meowing incessantly to be released. I don't know if that's been showing up on these videos. I don't know if I have not yet gone back and listened to the last several videos that I've done. I'll do that soon. So I don't know if the microphone, probably not, but I don't know. I don't know if the microphone is powerful enough to pick up her meows from down the hall. I only live in a single one-bedroom apartment, flat, no basement, no attic, nothing like that. I can't get away from these cats. No matter how much distance I try to create between me and them, there's nothing I can do to actually put myself out of the range of their being annoying to me. So I put them in the bedroom and they meow. I go in the bedroom and I don't like shutting the door into the bedroom when I'm back there because it makes the room very stuffy and warm. But even if I do that, they'll just sit outside the door and meow. So it's like there's nowhere I can go to create enough distance between me and the cats that the cats won't annoy me. And they do annoy me. Like I can't handle that meowing, that just incessant meowing. I could leave it. This one in particular, right here, is very intelligent and very stubborn. Meow. Look at the camera. So she does not get dissuaded. Yeah. She does not get dissuaded easily. When she wants something, she can stick her little mind to it for a long time. Okay, so today we're finally going to finish Leviticus. I've actually really liked looking at this deep look at Leviticus. It's a book that we mostly ignore in the church today. Don't want to talk about, don't want to deal with, don't want to take the time to understand. Somewhat legitimate reason in the sense that we're not bound by the Levitical system today. We don't follow the Levitical system today. That system was done away with at the cross, and so it's not even legitimate. Like even if we tried to offer sacrifices or follow the feast, the ritual feast laws, like that wouldn't do anything. If anything, it would be an affront to God because we're insisting on holding on to a system that He has done away with and replaces a better one. So there is a certain degree of we don't want to get too attached to this stuff, sort of thing. I can see where there would be some legitimate reason to be cautious about diving in too deep to Leviticus, but not understanding Leviticus properly kind of skews our impression of the rest of the scriptures. Because the Jews of Jesus' day did know Leviticus. Jesus knew Leviticus. A lot of Jesus' conflicts with the Pharisees and the Jewish rulers of his day were over the laws contained in Leviticus. The entire works of Moses, but in particular of Leviticus. The second greatest commandment is love your neighbor as yourself, and that's in Leviticus. And so, if you don't understand Leviticus, you're not going to properly understand the rest of the Old Testament, because the rest of the Old Testament derives from the worship code as established in Leviticus. Okay, when they have their tabernacle and later on their temple, and they set up these their entire lives are going to be based around the system of worship that's established in Leviticus. So if we don't understand, and then again, and that carries down to the days of Christ and the days of the Gospels. So if we don't understand, and then also continuing on, will help inform us of the conflicts the Jewish Christians have with the new Gentile Christians in the rest of the New Testament. So when the New Testament goes on beyond the Gospels, into the days of the church, and the separation between Jew and Gentile is done away with, that's going to create conflicts between the Christians who are Jews, who live their lives as Jews, and follow the Jewish system until they became Christians in their adulthood, which are what the first generation church was, and then the new Gentile Christians who come into the church after that, who have no background in Judaism And so some of their conflicts in that informs the rest of the New Testament beyond the Gospels even. So if we really want to understand the Scriptures properly, we do need to understand Leviticus. We don't need to follow Leviticus. We don't need to bind ourselves to its code today. We don't need to go looking for our rams and our bulls and our goats and our turtle doves and our pigeons to take them to the priest to wring their heads off or slit their throats and slaughter them or whatever. We don't need to do that today. But we do need to understand Leviticus, how they understood it, because that will enlighten us for the entire rest of the Scriptures. Anyway, so today we're going to finish Leviticus. Now, I have not been reading Leviticus in the order from the first chapter to the last chapter. I've done that intentionally. When you read the Bible, there are any number of ways to approach it. You could read it straight up in the order in which it's written and bound in our current English copies, which goes from Genesis to Revelation. That's one way of doing it. You could read it. There's only one. You can only ever read the Bible for the first time once. Okay, I of course have read the whole thing many times over. So it's like I'm not ever going to read it for the first time again, and haven't done that in 40 years. But anytime you go through it, there are different ways that you could approach it. As I've said many times in these video series so far, I generally read the books in the order roughly in which I think they were written. I do make an exception right at the very start because I don't think Genesis was written first. I actually think this material here was written before Genesis was written. In particular, as I've said many times, I believe the second half of Exodus is probably the first stuff that was actually written down that made it into what we have as our copies of the Bible today. And Leviticus doesn't have really very many narrative sequences in it. It's got two, actually. It has a Nadab and Abihu sequence, which we mentioned earlier, and one that we're going to read again today, a very short one. And the rest of it is just instructions. And it's hard to say in what order Moses received these instructions. We have a lot of sections in this book that start with, the Lord said to Moses. And there's no indication in what order he said these things, or in the time frame which is happening. It's all happening in the year that they're at Mount Sinai, but it's hard to say how much time is passing between the sayings. Is it a month? Is it a week? Is it all the very same day? You know, it's like now here at the beginning of chapter 16, we're going to get a little bit of causality. It says at the beginning of chapter 16, the Lord spoke to Moses after the death of two of the sons of Aaron, who died when they approached the Lord. So we know this is being said after the Nadab and Abihu stuff in chapters 8, 9, and 10. It was the day of inauguration when they inaugurated the priestly system, which ended with the death of Nadab and Abihu. That whole sequence is written in chapters 8, 9, and 10. This is being said to Moses after that, so we know that at least. But the rest of it, we really don't know. Okay, the Lord said to Moses, and he could have said it at any time. And we know both from here and later in the scriptures that when the prophets, and Moses was a prophet, when the prophets and the scribes in general wrote down whatever God said to them, they did not necessarily do it in chronological sequencing. So we can't be, and we find this in the Gospels too, especially in the Gospel of Luke. Luke was not an eyewitness to any of the events contained in the Gospel. He got all of his material from outside sources, and when you read the Gospel of Luke, comparing it to the other Gospels in particular, it really does come across just a bunch of stories that Luke strung together without worrying too much about how they fit together in chronological sequencing. And so that's just now in Acts, also written by the same guy, it is pretty chronological because he was present for much of the events in Acts, many of the events in Acts, and he was close associates with people who were present for other events in Acts, and that is largely written chronologically. But the Gospel of Luke is not. And in general, chronological sequencing is not the primary, is not of primary importance to these people, to these ancient writers. So I read Leviticus in patterns. I read the sections of Leviticus that fit together. And we found that they fit together pretty smoothly, and the book of Leviticus is arranged in a pattern, in a structure. You have the ritual sequences, the sacrifices and the feasts at the beginning and end of the book. Then the middle sections of the book, you have stuff dealing with the priests, the inauguration of their duties, and of course Nadab and Abihu, and then some of their extra standards that they're being called to live even beyond the rest of the Israelites. Then in the middle, in the intersections, you have the purity laws, and the various rules that the Israelites are to live by and how they conduct themselves on a daily basis, and extra duties for the priests who also served as doctors and other things like that within their, and building examiners, building inspectors within their culture. And the central part of the book is this section here, the Day of Atonement. So in the middle of the book, in the heart of the book, in the middle of this pattern, you have the peak. If again, I talked about it as being like a peak. You start off down here, you go up to the top, and you go back down the other side again. This is the peak of the mountain. This is the central part of Leviticus here in chapter 16. This is the Day of Atonement. Go ahead and start a new video.